See anybody coming?
Nobody yet.
Hopefully it's 5 or 6.
You know,
We'll see. It's going to be really rough tomorrow with the debate going on. That's going to be,
I forgot, right?
the debate is going to take a lot of people away from this, that's for sure. Or at least have their attention somewhere else.
I can't believe they didn't run that deed by us first.
I mean, how dare they? How dare
Yeah,
they?
Doug, that's a good one.
Let me call somebody.
Can you imagine having a huge workshop all scheduled, all ready to go? And then that drops. Oh, I would just die.
Yeah, it's like there was one morning I had a huge groundbreaking ceremony, and I had buy-in from all of the local press, and they were all coming. They all guaranteed me they were coming, and then that morning they dropped the masks at the airport, and no one had their mask. And then all the press, they're like, "We gotta go," and I was like, "Wait, wait, wait." And they're like, "But they don't have to wear masks at the airport anymore," and it just everything left within a
Yeah,
moment, and I was like, "No."
it happens.
It does. You can plan for anything, and then in a moment's notice, it just
That happened to us with an accident. So that took care of that, a big accident. I can't remember where it was at this point. I think it was on 99, probably, or 41. It's been a long time ago. My eye is still swollen, so I'll be on with my picture instead of video, guys. Just wanted to bring you up to speed.
I was getting ready to ask Georgina.
It's getting better, but it's not back to normal.
Yeah, it usually takes me, I think, about 3 days
Yeah.
before the swelling goes down.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'll be okay tomorrow. We'll see.
Can you see my video?
No, Lynn.
Huh. Guess the camera's on. Let me log in again, maybe.
Yeah, it's just blank.
Oh,
It's black. Yeah.
Yeah, blank.
Oh, you guys couldn't hear me when I was saying any of that, could you? I was saying there's a little it's like a screen block that
Oh
can
yeah,
get
it went
toggled
completely
on and
black.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that
Oh, she might
happened.
have that on. There she's back. Yeah, she's still black. So Alec, you might let her know how to take care of that problem.
Lynn, did you get a new laptop recently?
no, this is my old one.
Oh, okay. Because on the newer ones, there is a screen that you can talk, or it's like a blocker for the camera that sometimes gets accidentally toggled on and off. It's literally a little button on the edge of the laptop. It's very easy to miss, but you can feel it if you kind of run your hand over the top.
I don't see anything here.
All right, it is 6:30. We do have Edgar in the waiting room. Do we want to troubleshoot Lynn's camera for a second or?
Yeah.
Huh.
Lynn, is it? Do you, is your cameras on? Is the light on your camera?
Yes,
And when you click on video in the corner in Zoom, there's that little up button. Do you see that?
no.
Hmm. Yeah, in the upper right corner of the video button on Zoom, down in the toolbar on the bottom, there's a button there. May
Arrow that's pointing up.
help.
Arrow is pointing up.
Because it does show that your video is connected and it's on. But we,
Strange.
All right, well,
You
it
wanna-
is
we should
it
probably
is time. So Lynn, I guess you're going to be the voice from afar tonight.
Great. I'm gonna let everyone
like
in,
me.
just to let everyone in.
Yep.
Great.
Yes. Hello, everyone. We'll give the other attendees that hopefully attend another minute or so to join us before we get started. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, good evening. I'm Georgina Vivian with VRPA Technologies and the outreach team for this project. I'd like to first say thank you for attending this evening, this virtual event for Merced, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin counties. This session is regarding the Caltrans Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan, or CMCP, for State Route 99. We will be recording this session tonight so that we can capture all of your input, which is going to be very important to us. So we want to make sure that we receive it and take it into consideration as we move forward with the project. Next slide, please. Today, we will be hosting the meeting with Spanish simultaneous interpretation. If you are a monolingual English speaker, no changes to your setup are necessary at this time. Catherine with Linguistica and the outreach team will now provide you with instructions to access the Spanish channel for those Spanish speakers who would like to hear tonight's event translated into Spanish. Catherine?
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Si usted habla o prefiere escuchar en español, seleccione el icono de interpretación que aparece a un mundo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Luego seleccione español y no olvide silenciar el audio original. Si usted está usando Zoom en un teléfono o tableta, usted va a seleccionar los 3 puntitos para ver más opciones, seguido por interpretación y después español. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Next slide, please. I would also like to review some other housekeeping issues tonight with you. All attendees will be muted during the session, and your video will not be available during the event as well. If you have a question during the presentation, if you could please post your question or comment in the chat box. We will monitor the questions that you might pose and present non-repetitive questions as they are added to the chat box and when the presenter is available to answer them. Next slide, please. There are several agencies and firms involved in this important study, including Caltrans Districts 6, 10, and 3, as well as members of the Jacobs consultant team, including Jacobs Transportation, VRPA Technologies, AIM Consulting, and Linguistica. All of us probably on this session have traveled along State Route 99 for our daily activities, whether we're commuting to work or accessing shopping or other services. I personally have traveled every day for 7 years to downtown Fresno from Madera County, and I travel it now for work in northern and southern regions of California. Tonight is your turn to let us know how you use State Route 99. Help us learn and identify your challenges as you use the corridor, and most importantly, help us identify solutions to address those challenges. We're really looking forward to some of the solutions that you might have in mind. At this point, I'd like to briefly review the agenda for the remainder of this hour-long event. We have a full agenda for the session tonight. Members of the study team will provide you with an introduction related to the planning process, and there will be polling questions throughout so that you can provide us with your opinions related to State Route 99. We want to hear from you. We will provide you with some background information related to previous planning along the corridor and with some information related to current conditions. It will also be important, as I just mentioned, for us to learn your solutions or your methods that can be used to address challenges along the corridor. Finally, we'll identify the next steps in this planning process so that you can continue to be involved and be engaged. Next slide, please. I'll now turn the presentation over to Lynn O'Connor. She is the Office Chief of System Planning and Goods Movement with Caltrans District 10. Before you get started, Lynn, maybe you could provide some discussion about why you use State Route 99 and why it's important to you. Lynn?
Well, over the years, I've witnessed many changes to 99. Biggest being its transition from rural to urbanized. Today's users are likely commuters and freight with some seasonal farm produce that you see on the road, primarily nuts, grapes, and stone fruits. While in the past, the route transported a greater variety of grown crops. There were saucy off-ramps from the tomatoes for Tilly Lewis in Stockton, ketchup and Tracy, and the canneries up and down the route. Sugar beets went to Spreckles and Manteca, and there was sticky pavement from the green chop trucks headed to the dairies in Turlock and Modesto, and the produce stands. We may no longer have that variety of agricultural production on the route. We are an important source for national and international market, and it's always great to get out on the route and see what's moving on. So on behalf of Caltrans District 10, I would like to welcome everyone to the initial round of virtual public workshops for State Route 99 Comprehensive Multimodal Plan, or the CMCP. My name is Lynn O'Connor, and I'm the Caltrans Corridor Planning Representative for District 10. Focus for this workshop is for State Route 99 in Caltrans District 10 through the counties of San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced. We are committed to addressing the needs of the communities on the corridor, and we encourage you to share your ideas for what improvements on and along the state route would benefit your community. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas for the CMCP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Next slide, please. For our first question, we would like to get a sense of where you live in relation to the corridor. If you were with us in person, we would ask you to give us your city name and zip code. But since we're virtual tonight, if you could go ahead and put your city, name, and zip code in the chat box, that would be great. We'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
So far, we've got Modesto and Stockton. Keep them coming.
You're set.
Thank you, Martha. As well.
Great. Thank you so much for your input. Nice to know we've got a good representation across the corridor within District 10. Next slide, please. So this next question has to do with why you use State Route 99 most often. If you could please give us your answer. Potential answers include A, commute to work, B, go to the store, C, reach services such as medical services, D, get to school, E, to visit friends and family, F, for leisure purposes, or G, for other. If you do choose other, if you could let us know what other means in the chat box, please. And we'll give you a couple of minutes to answer.
All right, we got 3 quick answers. We'll see if we get 1 or 2 more out of the participants.
Great.
Yes, Edgar. Yeah, click the one that's the most, but if you use them all, you can say that too. It looks like Martha noted the same as well.
Great. I will share the results.
Okay. And friends, followed by reaching services such as medical services and other. Great. Did we have any? We have nothing in the other category. So great.
We actually had a couple of folks in the chat basically saying
Okay.
they do use it for absolutely everything.
Everything. Okay, perfect.
Is not surprising.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have a video that we have prepared to inform you about the project. We'll now play that video to highlight the State Route 99 planning process. The video does provide a good overview of the planning process, and it is very informative, so we hope you like it.
Caltrans is developing a comprehensive multimodal corridor plan, CMCP, for State Route 99, SR 99, from Bakersfield to Sacramento. SR 99 is crucial for goods movement and interregional connectivity. Although sections of SR 99 have been improved over the years, more work is needed to address growing safety, access, and traffic demands. The CMCP will guide future corridor decisions considering transportation trends, emerging technologies, community needs, and state and local policies. The planning area includes Caltrans Districts 3, 6, and 10, and 8 counties in coordination with their metropolitan planning organizations and transportation planning agencies, as well as local agencies and community partners. Caltrans has been planning for a cohesive SR 99 corridor since the early 2000s through Caltrans District's Transportation Concept Reports, California System Management Plans, and the SR 99 Business Plan. These efforts highlight multimodal opportunities for enhancing the SR 99 corridor. When complete, the SR 99 CMCP will carry forward the vision of these plans and reports. The Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, Senate Bill 1, established the Solutions for Congested Corridors program with an annual budget of approximately $250 million. This program funds projects that deliver specific, measurable performance improvements and align with comprehensive corridor plans. These projects can span state highways, local streets, public transit, rail facilities, cycling and pedestrian infrastructure, or necessary mitigation efforts. The CMCP will showcase agency coordination and robust analysis, enhancing the region's competitiveness for federal and state funding. Over the course of the next year, We will be looking not only to our partners and local agencies for input as we develop the CMCP, but also to you, the users of the corridor. We will be hosting a series of virtual events at key times during the planning process, both to inform you and to request your feedback. Virtual meetings will be held in each of the counties. Please join us to help identify priorities, concerns, and solutions that improve the SR 99 corridor and adjacent communities.
Great. I hope you enjoyed that video. Our next presenter is Doug Johnson. He's the Principal Transportation Planner with Jacobs Transportation. He's going to present information on the background planning process, existing conditions, and challenges along State Route 99. And he's also going to talk about the identification of potential solutions to improve the corridor and address those challenges. Doug?
Thanks, Georgina. And just for those in attendance, don't worry, that won't all come in one go. We'll have opportunities along the way for you all to weigh in. So as the video mentioned, in looking at the corridor, there have been a series of plans in the past that have guided many of the changes that Lynn described in her overview of the changes to 99 that we've seen over the years, and also to the local communities and to transit services in the corridor as well. And these plans are also critically important to prepare for the next generation of changes and improvements to the corridor. The recent activities include the business plan update recently completed, as well as in Sacramento County, Caltrans District 3 is conducting a managed lane study there. This is one of the first CMCP processes to include 3 Caltrans districts and actually stretches almost 300 miles from US 50 in Sacramento to Interstate 5 at the south end of the valley. So the purpose of a CMCP is to really focus on providing a wide variety of transportation improvements and ultimately alternatives to travel the SR 99 north-south corridor and to provide options to folks living and working in those communities. So multimodal improvements is a transportation jargon way of saying improvements that could include truck traffic, whether it's by freight moving by trucks or by rail, improvements to the bus and passenger rail systems, bicycle and pedestrian strategies, and more. This planning process also seeks to align with critical statewide plans, including the Climate Action Plan for Transportation, and then the state freight plan and state rail plan as well, to make sure that we're accounting for improvements that are planned along the corridor. We do note that the freight in the corridor is a critically important part of the corridor characteristics. I think Lynn gave a great narrative. I can picture the red stripe of tomatoes on those clover leaves in the past, and know that the state is also actively working on improving rail service as well in this section of the of SR 99. Next. Our process includes 4 major steps. The first is to collect information to better understand the corridor. Next, we want to assess that information and look for challenges and start to think about some of those possible opportunities. Next, we look to expand from those challenges and opportunities to really start to identify and develop and ultimately prioritize a set of solutions. Those could be projects, capital projects that build new infrastructure. It could be expanded transit service or the like. And then finally, to create an implementation plan so that the public has a clear idea about what to expect from the agencies involved. And then you can see there are 2 rounds of public workshops. There are 8 in the month of June, and we expect another 8 in the winter time coming up. And they've been organized roughly around groupings of counties, which again, you'll see at the end. But we will continue to engage with all of you. And hopefully when we come back in the winter time, you'll be seeing solutions and priorities that match input that you've already provided. The next slide is a translated version of this slide. We'll just give attendees who are following along in Spanish a minute to take this in. All right. It's important to think about as we are looking at our assessment of the corridor and contemplating a range of solutions for that next generation of investments, that we're thinking about what are some of our goals and what are some of our objectives here long term. And you can see a range of priorities pulled from local planning documents, county planning documents, as well as statewide planning documents. But they, cover everything from improving technology and improving our air quality to improving congestion and the state of the infrastructure on the corridor as well. Another one that's critically important is safety, which is really anchored at Caltrans by their goal to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries on California's roadways by 2050, which is also known as Vision Zero. This idea of having a goal to eliminate those types of crashes. And a big part of past improvements in this corridor, for sure. And many of the changes in converting it from a more rural road to more of a freeway to try and eliminate some of those most dangerous crashes. So the goals represent a wide variety of priorities and try to convey a desire to, kind of work across multiple objectives and multiple purposes to see that next generation of investments deliver for the public. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to the team for our next polling question. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug. Our next question, if you could please select 2 goals that are most important to you that Doug has covered First option is to promote safe travel, maintain streets and highways. Number 2, support the valley's economy, support affordable development. 3, promote equitable transportation investments. 4, prepare for climate change and advance clean technology. 5, improve air quality and improve public health. 6, reduce traffic congestion. We'll give you a couple of seconds here to provide your answers. That looks like we've got 3 so far. Ah, number 4.
All right. All right, I think we've got 4 out of 5
Mhm.
responded. Great. All right, I'll end the poll.
Great. So it looks like the number 1 most answered is prepare for climate change and advance clean technology, followed by a tie between promote safe travel and maintain streets and highways, and improve air quality and improve public health. Doesn't look like we had any, oh, that's hard for me to see. There we go. Yeah, last in place is promote equitable transportation investments. And the one I wasn't able to see, reduce traffic congestion, both came in at 25%. Thank you so much for your input. Great answers.
And thanks, Martha, for flagging the importance of preparing for climate change and tackling safety. And Ashley, I responded to your question to make sure you were clear about when you're going to hear from us sooner. Not January, not a year and a half from now. Quite a bit sooner. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on to our current conditions. I think not a surprise to any of you. Some of the most important trends recently in the valley from north to south include the patterns of population and job growth. Next slide. Population in the corridor has grown significantly from north to south, with 350,000 new residents in Sacramento, but growth approaching 40% in a number of counties, but including San Joaquin and Merced. And that growth in this portion of the corridor is anticipated to continue to, at a strong rate in the state's current forecasts. Looking ahead, this is going to continue to put high demands on the corridor, and for folks' desire to move within and across the 99 and making trips north and south and to the connecting parts of the state. Next slide. And similar to population, we've seen in some cases even higher levels of growth in recent years on the job front. Again, some of the largest numbers coming out of Sacramento County, but a number of other counties pushing about 100,000 new jobs in the last 20 plus years. And in this case, looking forward, much more evenly dispersed growth anticipated in the next in the forecasted period. So as we look to the forward, we're going to look to the future, we're going to need to work doubly hard to make sure that we are providing a range of options to address those needs that are going to arise as a result of all that job growth. Next slide.
Doug, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we do have someone with a hand up.
Indeed. Why don't we come to Martha at the end of this section then, if we can? I'll look to Katie and Georgina to make sure we've got a path for that. So in looking at the next piece of really understanding the story of State Route 99 from Sacramento to south of Bakersfield is to, understand the way in which it connects with other state and federal routes, including Interstate 5, 205, and Highway 80 in the north, and also a wide variety of state routes that connect into the foothills, across the valley, to the high desert, and to the coast, and to the Bay region. So we recognize that this is a critically important north-south corridor, but it also provides access to really critical east-west trips for folks trying to reach some of these regions, let alone the north part of the state. Next. The state also has, this segment of the valley also has a complicated and robust rail network serving both freight and passenger travel, anchored by Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, and Union Pacific, with north-south routes that connect to the high desert and Los Angeles, and then hubbing out to the Bay Area, to Northern California and Oregon, and out to Nevada, but also complemented by a number of short haul, short line operators, as well as passenger rail service by ACE and San Joaquin's in this part of the valley, with the planned, with the future deployment of high-speed rail improvements as well. Next slide. And then finally, we layer on top of that system, we also are looking at the valley's transit network and bus operators in particular serving the corridor. Many of the counties and cities do have local service on or across 99. That's also complemented by private bus operators, including Flixbus and Greyhound, that provides service in the corridor and to many of those adjoining regions. I would note that in addition to all these parts of the transportation system, there's also bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure along the corridor in the local jurisdictions, cities, and counties, providing critical access across State Route 99 and helping support people have access to some of those transit options that also serve travel in this corridor. When we look at how where the heaviest levels of use are on the corridor, we see that it is anchored very much in the northern segment of the corridor, as well as in the segment around Fresno and the segment around Bakersfield, based on analysis of past data. But again, we are already thinking ahead to those forecasts of job and population growth, recognizing these numbers are likely to grow in the future. Next. Zeroing in a little bit more closely in Bakersfield and Fresno, we see vehicle volumes on a daily basis approaching 160,000 vehicles per day in those locations. A big part of that representing that connection to those other state routes, is in addition to the localized population being higher in those places. Next slide. And in looking farther north, with high volumes seen in the communities around 120 and its connection to 205, but from Stockton to north of Merced, and also traffic volumes approaching almost over 200,000 vehicles per day as you approach Sacramento on State Route 99 from the south. Another big part of the story, as mentioned before, is the critical importance of goods movement on State Route 99. The state, acknowledges the importance of this. As noted before, it is considered a priority corridor in state plans for freight. And 25 million tons of goods are moved in this corridor between Bakersfield and Sacramento, based on past estimates, with a quarter of the nation's food grown in the Central Valley. Whether the products being moved by truck or rail, or farm, food and beverage, or manufactured, they certainly present a unique challenge in the corridor, and make it a very unique corridor in the state. Those high truck volumes, we also know, do contribute to higher emissions along the corridor, which is why Senate Bill 671, the Clean Freight Corridor Initiative, named this as one of only 6 corridors in the state for study and to advance a clean freight approach. The other thing just to note in looking at this and thinking about the freight and goods movement in the Valley is that this does represent the only north-south rail freight route now in the state, with the coast route no longer being used regularly for freight and goods movement. Next slide. And somewhat similar to the auto traffic patterns, truck traffic is heaviest in and around the Modesto, Stockton, Modesto, Turlock portion of the segment, in the Fresno, and then in the Bakersfield as well. Very, and in large part, some of this is now being driven by the expansion of various logistics centers and trucking hubs that are going up, with a goal looking forward of trying to find ways to make more efficient use of those locations and provide more access to get goods onto rail in particular at inland ports in the future. So with that preview of some of the heavy, some of the most important characteristics on the corridor, I'll hand it back to the team before we track back to that question that was raised earlier.
Do you want me to answer that now, Doug?
Sure.
Okay. So Martha, we will provide you and others with an opportunity tonight to identify the challenges and solutions that you want us to know about in an upcoming question further on in the presentation. And at the end of the presentation tonight, we should have additional time for you to provide additional input. We just wanted to make sure we got through the presentation and provided you with as much information as possible related to the project. Okay, Katie, if you could bring up the next polling question, that would be great. So the next question, what are the 2 top challenges traveling on or across State Route 99 in your community? So please provide us with 2 challenges. 1, development of new homes, jobs, and infrastructure impacting trips. 2, high traffic volumes and congestion. 3, high volumes of truck traffic and goods movement. 4, unsafe roadways or intersections? And 5, do I have alternatives to driving by car?
And while you all are taking that poll, why don't we go ahead? I see Martha's question here in the chat. Martha, do you have you want to tell us about your question out loud? That'd be great.
So Martha Armis Kelly, and I am a member of the community in Merced. I also work in Stanislaus with Catholic Charities Environmental Justice. And I also sit on the Equity Advisory Committee for the State and Transportation. I
That's
am a
great.
representative of my community. I am very concerned. And first of all, this is great. Just the fact that you're considering the Central Valley and having these discussions with the people that reside in this community is something to be lauded for. We don't have that voice or that opportunity. But I will say this, in order to have equitable representation of the community, we can't just expect folks to answer scripted or guided responses. I know that for the sake of time, there needs to be some prompting, but to be original and understand how important these issues are for our Central Valley is tantamount. We have issues with access to the corridors. We have issues with the fact that when we are exposed to any kind of infrastructure change, that folks are not afforded a channel in which they can communicate their needs and are given the runaround, and not necessarily because of any jurisdiction or any person that we can't reach, but just the whole process is not transparent. When you hire a contracted firm to come out and do road infrastructure changes, they're not vetted in a way that they have some type of mitigation when things go south. And that's the concern for me. We need to have some type of mitigation or plan B when things are not effective. We had floods, we had atmospheric rain, which is again climate considerations, and we had these short, small tunnels in which these cars had to travel. We had trucks going through the same corridor, and at any given time, you have a person that's not experienced in driving or has a little bit of fear or any kind of claustrophobia. There was no room for error, and many accidents happened. We had fatalities on the 99, and we can't dismiss that. People were affected by the decisions that we make. So moving forward, and I know we're growing and expanding. We have the Tulare project. We have other projects along the 99 corridor. I don't want to repeat of the things that happen. I need to know that we're going to have some type of security or safety measures to support the infrastructure as it develops. Another thing is that we also need to consider how we're going to develop these corridors. Are they going to stay
Martha?
at sea level? Excuse me,
Yeah.
let me just finish my thought.
Okay.
Or are we going to start looking upwards? Because we need to think about sea level rise and all the different things that affect our community. And some might say that it doesn't have anything to do with because we're not near the water. But if you understand liquefaction, and if we ever have another atmospheric storm, which is coming, we're going to have to deal with those consequences.
Yeah. Martha, thank you. I think you've got a lot of great input for our solution section of the conversation, which is just around the corner. Sorry, corridor. That's a horrible slip up. But I think what you're raising is there are multifaceted issues in the corridor. There's no question. And these are just some of them. So I'll encourage you to provide really detailed, ideas and suggestions in the chat. It's going to be open for 18 minutes as we start building out, our ideas and solutions for this next phase of the study, because that's really where we're at now, is really just starting to begin to brainstorm what that long list of kind of new and next generation improvements are. With that, Georgina, do you want to do a quick highlight of the results to this one before we move on to that last section?
Yes. So the number one answer was high traffic volumes and congestion. This has to do with the two top challenges traveling along State Route 99. Next is high volumes of truck traffic and goods movement, very similar to other sessions that we've seen. And then we had a three-way tie between development of new homes, unsafe roadways, and do I have alternatives to driving by car? Okay.
All right. So with that, we're going to move into the second to last section, but I think Martha, you queued us up well for this, which is to start thinking as we move into this next phase of the study, is what are some of those solutions that the community wants to see? And we know that many of those priorities have been named in other studies and are working hard to inventory those. Next slide. We see a mix of plans and ideas that are already in place and are already building forward, whether it's around making plans to reduce truck traffic via the use of inland ports. Obviously, high-speed rail's business plan. There are countywide transportation plans, transit plans, and bicycle and pedestrian plans. So we will be working hard with local jurisdictions to make sure that we're able to pick up places where many of you may have already provided input. And we also have the chance tonight to consider and start to build out a longer list of solutions for the corridor. Next slide. And so we're going to be looking at developing a set of solutions to tackle a variety of issues in the corridor around transportation. And then I think also we will be needing to name many of the kind of transportation adjacent issues, but including the long-term, design of infrastructure in the corridor. We know that's going to be an issue. We've all seen it and lived it in the last few years as some of these huge storms have been coming through across the state. But this is a chance for us to really start to build up our inventory of ideas. And so we're going to ask you with our remaining time, we got about 15 minutes left and the chat is open. And maybe Georgina, I'll just keep going. But, tell us a little bit about in the chat, make your suggestions to us. What do you think might be some of the best solutions to address concerns you have along this corridor or making regular trips that you make that use State Route 99? Those could be for bicycle and pedestrian improvements. They could be around safety improvements at a specific interchange or segment of 99. You might be thinking about transit improvements as well. So, we'd encourage you to use the chat box and fill it up with your ideas. And let us know what some of your ideas might be, and based on those priorities and things you're thinking about and are most top of mind tonight.
The more specific you can be for us, the better. That way we know exactly where you have issues along the corridor, and we'll be able to address some of those issues in the planning process. So if there's a specific intersection or a specific segment of State Route 99 that's an issue, please let us know exactly where it is.
I'll just note, Martha, I heard you suggesting, designing infrastructure that is, less susceptible to flooding. It seems like, exactly the kind of, idea that we would want to make sure to catalog. And I think I heard you suggesting some other ideas about how projects proceed, and it would be great to get those cataloged tonight in writing. Thanks.
Edgar had a question regarding the slide deck and whether it would be available on the Caltrans website. We'll be talking about that at the end of the presentation, but once all the sessions are completed, then materials from these sessions will be posted on the Caltrans website. Keep your ideas coming, because they definitely will be taken into consideration and documented in the synopsis report for these sessions. So it's important that we get your input.
Yeah, and thanks, Edgar, for naming those on-ramps and off-ramps and the specifics about where those are. Yeah, there's a number of some of those older ramps that are really short.
Great comment, Margot.
Mm-hmm.
Great specific comment, Ashley. Thank you.
And Harlan, thanks for the comment around speeds. We've seen a number of those comments from these meetings, so appreciate you continuing to make note of that.
Good comment, Margot.
Martha's phone's having a bit of issues, but I am talking to her on a side chat, and she's having some really great input, including rest stops, safer, better lighting, cameras along 99, more ways to ensure safety, as well as 132 near Empire is extremely dangerous. Would love to see some safety and enhancements around there. She has an ad hoc committee that helps address some of these needs that would welcome some of the input. So we'll make sure that we get you some information about that as well. And then she talked about needing a better on and off ramp around the 16th and 99. So
Great.
Martha, thanks so much. I'll make sure that we can get these comments recorded for you as well.
Great comments. Okay, I think maybe we can move on, and you still have time till 7:30 to provide additional comments. We'll get into next steps. So what happens next? Next slide, please. There were a total of 8 meetings in this round of community events and forums. This is the second to last one, as you can see on the slide. Following this series of events and forums, we will thoroughly review all the feedback that we've received from tonight's meeting, as well as from the other events and forums that have been held this month, and we will be creating an outreach report. Next slide, please. As Doug mentioned, there are 4 major pieces to this study. The first 2 pieces are really complete at this point with all of these events winding down this month. The next major task will be to take the input that we've received from you and others over this last month and start to identify solutions to the challenges that have been identified along the corridor, all the way from Kern County to Sacramento County. Following that, then we will develop an implementation plan, and we will have another series of workshop events that will focus on those identified solutions and get further input from you at that time. That'll likely be in the winter of 2025. The next slide provides the same information in Spanish, and we'll leave it here for just about 15 seconds for those Spanish speakers on the call. Okay, next slide, please. If you have other questions or comments after tonight's session, if you could please call the hotline number at 559-272-4561, or you can email us at sr99cmcp@dot.ca.gov. We have received a number of comments through the email as well as using the hotline. So if you could use those two outlets, additional comments, that would be great. When you're using the hotline, please follow directions and we will return your call or send you a response to your email within 3 working days. Regarding the information and videos that have been presented tonight, I know there was someone asked the question, as well as the outreach report that I mentioned that will be prepared. We will follow up with an email to you to let you know when and where to find those materials online. Next slide, please. So if you have any additional questions, if you could please let us know. If you have any additional comments, we've got about 4 minutes remaining in this session. Please provide them in the chat box, and we'll definitely take them into consideration as we move forward with the planning process.
I did get one last comment from Martha. Maybe
Okay.
she had asked for a great suggestion is a lot better communication with MPOs and local jurisdictions to get them ready for emergency preparations or for emergency preparedness. So that better communication is always great.
Yes, definitely. And I know some of them are doing emergency plans, so that will be hopefully addressed over time. So
And
before
Edgar,
some of
I
you
just want
leave, oh, go ahead, Doug.
I just want to say I appreciate Edgar's comment and hear you appreciate that you've also provided, I think, a number of specific ideas that may help with that. So appreciate that. That's really helpful.
And thank you, Harlan, for your comment here. So before you do leave, I just wanted to say thank you so much for attending tonight's session. We really appreciate the time you took out of your evening to be with us. And again, if you have any additional questions or comments, please send them on to the email that we provided or call the hotline and we'll definitely get back to you. Great. Thank you, Edgar. You too.
And thank you, Martha. I know you're sending me messages directly, but I know I'm sharing it with the rest of the team. She's saying thank you to everybody for your time here tonight. And again, Martha, I got your email address. I'll make sure that we connect, and it's good to see you on the call again.
Thanks, Martha.
Yes, thank you.
Yikes.
And Ashley. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for attending.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Alec, I'll connect with you. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
night.
you. Bye.